Today we're going to take a look at two of the most popular 5-shot Snubby 38 revolvers on the market. The Smith Wesson J-Frame 642 and the Ruger LCR. We'll talk a little bit about each one, and I'll share some thoughts about the time that I've spent with the two of them. I've had the LCR for almost a decade, and I've shot and carried it a lot. The 642 I've only had for about a year, and I've shot it significantly less. Both of these revolvers are double action only with an enclosed hammer. They have a 5-round capacity, and both are rated for 38 Special Plus P. The 642 is part of Smith & Wesson's Airweight series, which has an aluminum frame and a steel cylinder and barrel. The basic design for the J-frame has been around since the 1950s, so it's a classic design with a lot of history and millions of guns produced. The LCR was introduced in 2009 as a modern take on the classic 5-shot Snubby. It uses a hybrid design with a polymer fire control housing, an aluminum frame, and a stainless steel cylinder. Dimensionally, these guns are very similar. The barrel length on both is 1.9 inches, and they both have a 1 1/4 inch cylinder width, and they're right around 6.5 inches long from the very front to the very back. The LCR is about 1/4 inch taller than the J-frame at 4.6 inches. The LCR weighs 13.5 ounces, and this 642 weighs in at 1 pound. Now that will depend on what grips you're running on these, but these are the VZ G10 grips on this ultimate carry. You could go with something a little bit lighter to shave a few ounces off of that. To actuate the cylinder release on the J-frame, you push forward, and on the LCR, you push into the frame. So a little bit of a difference there. Now regarding sights, a bone stock 642 would have a fixed front sight and a gutter or trench rear sight. The LCR also has a trench rear sight, but it has a pinned in front sight, which you can see here. I've upgraded the stock sight, which is a ramp with a little white paint on it, to this Novak fiber optic. I never had an issue with the stock LCR sight. I just wanted to experiment with something else. But on the LCR, you do have that option of being able to pretty easily change out different sights. Now on this ultimate carry, one of the big upgrades they did was put in a pinned front sight. This is a Tritium XS with a round top and a dovetail U-notch rear sight, which is a huge upgrade, in my opinion, to a bone stock J-frame. Now the trigger on the LCR has a cam-style mechanism and is very smooth and consistent for a factory double-action trigger. J-frame triggers are generally heavier and a little bit more staged, though performance will obviously vary by which model of J-frame you have, and they can be improved with aftermarket parts and action work. The LCR comes with a rubber Hogue Tamer grip by default. It offers really nice recoil absorption and it's very comfortable. J-frames typically come with a small rubber grip, but there's a huge aftermarket for grip options due to its long history. And that's one of the advantages of the J-frame, is that you can really find exactly what you like in a grip. So that's the basic gist of what we're dealing here with these two revolvers. In my very humble enthusiast opinion, there's no decisive winner. The aesthetics and cool factor definitely goes to the J-frame. It's a design that has been around forever, and it still retains that classic snubby look, while the LCR will definitely not win any beauty contests. A lot of people just think it's straight ugly, though I tend to think it's all pure function. I will say I shoot the LCR better, and by that I mean if I am unscientifically punching paper at the range, I consistently shoot smaller groups with the LCR. I'm going to chalk that up mainly to its excellent trigger. The trigger on this 642 is pretty heavy and doesn't lend itself to easy shooting, though it has smoothed up a bit through shooting and dry fire. And I know they can be made much better with some action work. As good as the LCR trigger is, it's also very easy for it to false reset if you don't train for it. Meaning, when you pull the trigger back and then go for the next shot, if you don't come all the way off the trigger's not going to fully engage, and you're going to pull the trigger and nothing's going to happen. Now this is definitely exacerbated if you're used to riding the reset on a semi-auto, or if you're used to shooting Smith & Wesson revolvers. There's a little bit of a training curve between the two, so you really have to kind of teach yourself to come all the way off the trigger. I do like the fact that there are a lot more grip options for J-frames out there as a result of them being so popular and around for so long. These VZ grips on the UC have an enclosed backstrap and are more hand-filling than the open backstrap offerings, and I think they're excellent. But the three main LCR grip options, the boot grips, the stock tamer grips, and the extended tamer grips, cover all the bases for most people, and all of those are very functional designs. The stock grips in particular are great, in my opinion. They really blend concealability and shootability more so than a lot of small, snubby grips. And that's, I think, largely in part due to the ergonomics and also this tamer portion of the grip, which is basically like a gel pad right in the back strap. If we were comparing a regular airweight J-frame to the LCR regarding sights, I think the pinned-in front sight of the LCR would give it the edge over the trench sights and fixed front on a regular J-frame, in that it's a little easier to see in its stock configuration, and can be replaced with something like this Novak fiber optic. But the XS sights on this ultimate carry model are very nicely made and easy to see. I wish Ruger made the LCR to take dovetail sights like the UC here. Both of these have been very reliable for me. I did have some issues years ago with the LCR that I go over in my long-term review, but they were eventually resolved by Ruger. I have no plans to get rid of either of these, but if I had to choose one, I'd probably go with the LCR, just because it's a little bit lighter and I shoot it better. If you're interested in living the snub life, I don't think you can go wrong with either of these choices. Hopefully you found this video helpful in some way. If you like the content here on the channel, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and your subscription, and maybe even consider signing up for my membership here on YouTube. It's only $2 a month, and it just helps me pay for some of this ammo and helps me justify to my wife why I spend so much time making these videos. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you next time.